Hello everyone, hope you're all doing good. I feel a lot better today and my tongue's healed, so it was so much nicer doing these recordings today. I wanted to say thank you for all the nice comments and concern about me from my previous video. I really appreciate it. And out of interest, are any of you actually a park ranger? Or do any of you work for the Forest Service yourselves? Because in England, that's not really a job that we have, or if we do have it, it wouldn't be the same. And to be honest, if I lived in America, I'd absolutely love to do something like that. But I was just interested if any of you are. And I wanted to say, one of the best things I've found to help me with my mental health is doing regular exercise. Like, honest to God, it's night and day difference between when I'm not exercising and when I am, in terms of how I'm feeling in myself. Like, even yesterday I felt pretty down, but I went for a jog and I felt so much better afterwards. So that's just a thought that I thought could help some of you. And remember, if you're not well mentally, go and seek professional help. It's what you need to get better. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this video and I'll speak to you all soon. Make sure you check out my Instagram at Joe the Insomniak too, and the podcast in the description below. My ex-boyfriend and I did a rainforest walk, which dips deep down to the bottom of the forest. There's no other cars in the car park, and we didn't come across any hikers. We have it all to ourselves and had a great time for the most part. As we're walking up, my ex was ahead of me and suddenly stopped, raising his hand to signal for me to stop. I look up, and there's this woman staring at us ahead. She looks normal, but I get a chill as soon as I see her. Something about her's off. She had dark brown hair, which I only noticed because it contrasts so highly against her cardigan. Now, her cardigan was all I could focus on. It went right down to her feet and was bleach white, as though it had just been pulled off a rack. But we're in a forest. How is it so white? And why on earth would you wear it hiking? We stare at her for what must have been 30 or 40 seconds, but feels like an eternity. There was no way I was going to take another step towards her. Instead, I felt this kind of stillness, as if the forest around us froze in time and went silent. She finally turned around and started to walk slowly back up the trail. We watched her and waited, not saying a word to each other, until she's out of sight before we start going again. The car park was still around half an hour away, and we just fast walked in silence, a bit on edge, just trying to listen for anything. We look back and don't see her. It's absolutely the strangest thing that ever happened to me. The one thing I can't explain was how her cardigan was perfectly white. Even the bottom of it had no signs that she had been in the forest whatsoever. It gives me chills thinking of it. This happened 1 year ago, over the course of 5 months, but I've decided now that I want to see other people's opinions on it. I live in a rural area with a few houses around, but plenty of forest, and out of nowhere, around 10 to 12 at night, there would be a series of knocks on one side of the house, which isn't odd if it's one time, but this happened many times over the course of 5 months. If I had to put a number on how many times it happened, it's probably around 30. It's the exact same kind of knocking. At first, we thought maybe it's just some kids banging on the other side of the house, but no kid has enough dedication to continue it for this long with no reward. Also, I've stepped outside to see if anything's there, and literally, it's as if no one's there. I don't really believe in the paranormal, but I genuinely have no clue as to what this could be. When I was younger, I used to have this recurring dream that a girl in a white dress would come to me. At first she was harmless. She would never say anything to me. She would just stand at the foot of my bed and stare at me, with these weird black eyes. Now it was almost like a lucid dream, because I would wake up in the exact setting that I fell asleep in every single time. Whether I was staying at my grandma's house or if I was staying in my own bed, it would always happen. Now my father was a park ranger and a very strong man, so I always felt safe having my dad around. But there was one time that he wasn't around, and what happened I could never explain. Now, the exact same thing happened. I was so used to it. I wake up in the night, and there's a girl in that pure white dress just staring at me. This time, she raises her hand at me, and wants me to come with her. I'm not gonna hold her hand. I've rubbed my eyes and it feels like I'm not even in a dream, but I know that I am. She suddenly takes off and sprints outside, into the yard, then into the forest. Even in my dream mind, I still think, hell no, I ain't going out there. And I just go back to sleep. When I wake up, I can't shake the feeling that something was off about that dream. I kind of forget about it. A few years later, I hear off my dad that he's also had the same dreams, and some of the other park rangers have too that he works with, and he's never been able to explain it. He just thought it was nothing more than a dream. Well, that was until one day, I was out with my dad. We were just gonna go into the forest for a small hike together. I was really looking forward to it and always enjoyed doing so. As we get there, just on the tree line where the forest starts, my dad stops dead in his tracks. I've never seen my dad look so scared in his life, and this is literally someone that I've never seen be scared of anything. He says to me, "Don't move," and he goes and picks up a stick. I can finally see what he's looking at, and my god, it is terrifying. It was the exact same dress that the girl in my dream would wear. Literally as though it's just been placed there, no dirt on it whatsoever. My dad goes up to it and pokes it with a stick. We don't need to say anything to each other. It was the exact same thing that both of us had dreamt of. We both sprinted back to the house and agreed not to tell my mum about it, not to scare her. I found out later that my dad actually went there to go and investigate further to see if someone was playing a prank on us. But literally, later in that day, the dress vanished without a trace. It's the single most crazy and unexplainable thing that's ever happened in my life. If it was only me having the dreams and this experience, I wouldn't have been as scared, but the fact that my dad had it too? Crazy. Now my native language is French, so sorry if there's any problems telling this story. This happened last week. I was searching for a cave with my girlfriend, and in France, we have incredibly detailed maps telling us every cave that has been explored. We decided to go to a cave which has a famous area, and there's caves littering the landscape there. So there's a very wooded area. The hills and valleys are very narrow. We spot a good place to start looking at the bottom of a small creek and make our way up. We go to the dirt and then further into the gravel and then the boulder field. That's when I remembered this sub, because we stopped walking at the same time. It was silent. Dead silent. Not even a bird. It's the kind of silence that actually oppresses you. We eventually continued walking uphill and come across a cave. Soon after, a bird breaks the silence, and we realise we are almost dead for asphyxiation. We didn't dare to breathe in silence. Now I've heard of other people having this before, but to experience it yourself is absolutely crazy. I mean, think, it wasn't something we heard that scared us, it was the silence. And it's not just that, you almost feel as though you're being stalked or someone's watching you. Maybe it's a primitive thing that lets us know there's a predator or person in the area, and the animals did the same. But there were no insect sounds either. That's what scares me the most. Usually I just think it was my mind playing tricks on me, but the fact that both of us stopped at the exact same time? Crazy. The details I have on this story are very vague, but someone told me about a teenager who went into the Okla National Forest to hike, and then was reported missing several days later when he didn't return home. A couple of months later, when he was found in the woods, he was a different person, appearing like he was drunk. He was tested but had no signs of drugs or alcohol. The negative results. Mentally, he wasn't all there, but physically, there's no signs of him being exposed to anything to cause this. He kept telling people that he encountered something strange. It was several months before he was himself again, and he had very little memory of what happened on those days. I've asked people that I know who live in Okla or have camped and hiked in the Okla National Forest, and they've never heard this story. I really didn't know this person who told me this story, but it's crazy. I do know that over the years, people have gone into the Okla National Forest and never came out. Some of them are harmed or killed by animals, others murdered by the worst enemy of all, humans, and never found again with a trace. Now, I've driven through the forest on State Highway 40, and it's creepy as hell. It's creepy enough in daytime,